Good afternoon. This is Lenny the Lawyer Live, and I'm coming to you from the greater New York, New Jersey metropolitan area with the Brooklyn Bridge, the bridge that's been sold more often than any other in the background. And today's topic is going to run longer than normal because it's a very serious subject and something I'm very passionate about and something you need to know about. What I'm going to talk about is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not licensed in any other state besides the state of New Jersey, but the principles I'm going to talk to you about are applicable in other states. However, to find out how these apply in other states, you need to speak with a licensed attorney in that state. So prepare yourself for some important information which you can use for consultations with a licensed attorney in your state. My name is Lenny the Lawyer Live, and I'm licensed only to practice law in the state of New Jersey. What I'm providing is not to be considered as legal advice. It's for entertainment and informational purposes only. And it's to provide you with information when you speak to a licensed attorney, and it's also designed to prevent you from having problems. Let me explain. This video is going to be a little longer than normal, so please bear with me because this is very important. And if you like what you see, please click the subscription button and then click the bell, the top of the bell, so you get notified each time I produce a video. Now, what I'm so passionate about and what I want to tell you about today is there are all these people that are not licensed attorneys, and they're talking about LLCs, sole proprietorships, and what they say does not make a whole lot of sense, and very little of it is accurate, if any. So let me set the facts straight so you don't get hurt. If you are in any type of a business, you need to have at least a 3-member LLC. The reason being is that an LLC must have 3 members, otherwise, and it will vary from state to state, so be sure to check with an attorney in your state. If you don't have a 3-member LLC, the courts can do what's known as pierce the corporate veil. That's a legal doctrine. So when a lawsuit is filed against you and you try to hide behind the corporate veil to protect yourself against personal liability, that veil's going to fall by the wayside because you haven't had a properly set up limited liability corporation. If you have your limited liability corporation set up by some online service or some non-attorney, you're making a grave mistake, a mistake that can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars or more, and you could lose everything. The proper way to protect yourself, if you're going to use a limited liability corporation, is not to have some service or other non-attorney just put together a bunch of boilerplate phrases, put it in a fancy corporate kit, and call it a limited liability company. No, 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 no. A limited liability company, if it's put together properly, is done by an attorney. So when I put together a limited liability for my clients who want to form this type of corporate entity, I put together a custom drafted agreement. I also tell them exactly what they need to do to get their business going that is not legal advice in nature. But that's the subject of another video, not this one. This video is focused on corporate entities. So whether you're a mom and pop coffee shop, a business coach or consultant, or a course creator, or involved in education, or a brick and mortar business, any business that you're in, you need to have a 3-member LLC. You need to set it up right. Now, I'm going to keep this as brief as possible so that I don't put you to sleep, because I want you to be aware of this. This is very important. So if you haven't if you don't have coffee, if you're feeling sleepy, pause this video for a minute, grab some coffee or whatever your beverage of choice is so you can stay awake and watch this whole video. Now, let's compare. Typically, an online service or some non-attorney will say, oh, I can put together a limited liability corporation for you for, say, $400 or $500 tops. And you know what you get for that? You get a collection of templates thrown together. And maybe if you're lucky, they'll throw in a fancy corporate kit by some company that makes those kits and a fancy little corporate seal. And guess what? In a court of law, that's not worth the paper it's printed on. What you have to be aware of is that your corporate accounts, you must set up a separate corporate bank account. You apply to the IRS for the business equivalent of a social security number called an EIN number, which stands for Employee Identification Number. With that, you can open business bank accounts. You should have, at a minimum, a general operating account and a payroll account if you're going to have employees. Also, you cannot mingle personal funds with business funds. You cannot pay for your personal expenses with your business funds. You must keep a separate and distinct personal checking and savings account, and that has to be separate and apart from your business checking account. You can have a business debit card for if your business involves vehicles and travel and you need to purchase fuel or you need to purchase supplies or other things to operate your business. But you need to keep your receipts and you need to be able to back up that you've observed the proper corporate formalities. Now, if you don't have a limited liability corporation structured properly, if you only have one member or two, and you find yourself on the wrong end of a lawsuit, the attorney for the person or entity suing you is going to try to invoke a legal doctrine called piercing the corporate veil. And when the corporate veil is pierced, it's as if your limited liability corporation or other corporate entity doesn't exist. This video is not going to be a conclusive, an exhaustive discussion of all types of corporate entities. That would take hours and hours, and neither you and you don't have the patience to listen to that, and I don't have the patience or the time to record all that. I'm going to tell you what's most essential. So what you need to know is, rather than spend $400 or $500 from some service putting together a bunch of boilerplate, your best bet is to consult a licensed attorney in your state to have a limited liability corporation with 3 members, one of which is a managing member, put together properly. You get an EIN number, which is the business equivalent of a social security number. It stands for Employee Identification Number. And that enables you to open your business checking accounts. Never, never, never mix business and personal funds. Did I mention that your personal funds and business funds should be kept separate? Well, I'm mentioning it again because it's extremely important. Because the last thing you want is, if you're involved in a lawsuit, to have the court pierce the corporate veil and treat your limited liability corporation as if it didn't exist. Now, there's one other corporate entity that's superior to a limited liability corporation. And I don't care whether you're a mom and pop coffee shop, you're a business coach, you're a photographer, or you have hundreds of employees and you already have an established business, you need to have what's known as a corporation, also referred to as a C-corp for short, or and will have the words INC in the name of the company. Now, when my firm sets up a corporation for its clients, it involves a lot more than what I'm discussing with you now in this video. And I'll be happy if you provide your information on our website, boyercoffee.com, to give you more information, absolutely free. What you need to do is remember this. A corporation has to be properly drafted. The operating agreement and the shares must be in the proper fashion. Corporations can be public or privately held. So whether you're, as I said earlier, whether you're just a mom and pop operation or you've got hundreds of employees, you need to have a corporation. A corporation limits your liability, except in rare instances, to the amount of your investment in the corporation and the value of the shares that you hold. A corporation is the only corporate entity that can issue stock, and it's much more credible should you need financing, investments, or loans than any other form of corporate entity. So it's very important that this is done right and drafted properly, because if it's not, you risk grave consequences. You have to weigh the pros and cons. Do you want to save a few $100s now and use some online service that's going to put together a bunch of boilerplate, put it in a fancy corporate kit with a seal? Or do you want to spend some time and money consulting an attorney, having a properly drafted corporation put together legally so that it's legally binding? And when you're sued, if you're sued, in our litigious society, it's probably a matter of when, not if. No matter how careful you are in business, it's likely to happen. But you can sleep easy at night knowing that your business, your corporation, was put together, custom drafted specifically for your needs by an attorney. And when your corporation is set up properly by an attorney, you will have a separate EIN number that you get from the IRS. You will use that information to go to your favorite local bank and open a business checking account. You must keep records of everything you do in the business to establish its legitimacy and follow the right procedures. When you retain an attorney after you've incorporated, the attorney can guide you and protect you from having potential problems, not just with creditors, but with the IRS as well. And make sure that you're properly licensed to conduct the business you want to conduct in the state that you're in. There's another advantage to corporations. When you want funding for the corporations, those only a corporation, whether it's publicly held or privately held, is something that has credibility and is viewed seriously in the eyes of prospective lenders. And that can be very important to scale your business and grow. But also, your corporation, let's say you're in a specific type of business that lends itself to other businesses. Each of those other businesses can be in a limited liability corporation, once again, properly drafted by an attorney with at least 3 members, and each individual business would be in one LLC. That puts 2 layers of protection between you and any potential problem. So it's worth the time and effort. Now, there's tax consequences and accounting consequences that are beyond the scope of this video. But if you need accounting advice or tax advice, we could always refer you to the proper professionals, or in your state, an attorney can refer you to the proper professionals. You have to be sure that you're doing the right thing, that your business is set up right. Because if it's not, everything you put together, everything you've worked so hard for can be lost. And I've seen how devastating this could be. I can't tell you how many cases I've handled that I couldn't salvage the situation because somebody went to an accountant and the accountant put together an s-corp, which is the accountant's best friend because it requires more paperwork than any other type of corporate entity. But that's another subject. That's the subject for another video. So I apologize that this video is run longer than normal, but what I've had to tell you today is very important. And I hope that if you didn't understand anything, that you go back and replay the video. And remember, if you've liked this video, click on the subscribe button and leave me comments below telling me what you liked or telling me how I can improve, and suggest topics for future videos that you'd like to know about. And hit the subscribe button so you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you click the bell, the top of the bell, so you're notified when I release any more videos. Remember, this video has been general advice. It's not intended to be legal advice, and no attorney-client relationship has been created. I have merely provided you, hopefully, with some entertainment and information that you can use when you talk to a licensed attorney in your state. This